Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, January the 7th. We got a 5-game Thursday slate. We're going to break this slate down position by position like we always do. We'll start off at point guard, work our way all the way through center. I'll hit on all the guys that kind of stand out to me looking at this slate the night before, looking at this slate on Wednesday night. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about every single player, just the guys that really catch my eye. The guys that I feel like I'm going to have exposure to in my lineup. So before we get started with the video, as always, I'd appreciate it if you would hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do enjoy my videos, if they help you out a lot, you want to get more content from me, you do want to see more that I have to offer, I have a Patreon link down below in the description. You can check that out if that is something that does interest you. If you would like to get more content from me, you want to see more that I have to offer, you can check out my Patreon. But let's go ahead and start off at point guard. On this 5-game slate, we got Luka and LeBron, both at this position, both over 10K, or both 10K and above. Luka coming in at 10,500, and then LeBron coming in at 10K flat. So Luka, I definitely have interest in. It's a short slate, only 5 games. There are surprisingly a lot of stud options, even though it's just a 5-gamer. We got, Jokic, Luka, LeBron, and AD. We got Kyrie Irving, Embiid, even, Lillard, Ben Simmons. So plenty of pay-up options. But Luka, does look like one of the top options at 10,500. He's finally looked like himself these last few games. He got off to a really slow start at the beginning of the year, but the last 2 games, 58 and 71 DraftKings points. He had a big triple-double last game out against Houston in 38 minutes. We know what we're going to get from Luka on a nightly basis. We know the numbers he's going to put up. He's a high-usage player, obviously. He's a guy you can basically play almost any slate. He always has upside. This matchup against Denver, I would say, is probably not the best one on paper, but Luka is such a talented player. He's basically matchup-proof. I don't really care, who he's going up against. This is a guy that can go for 60, 70 DK points any night. So I do like Luka at 10,500. I think right now I'd probably rather get to Jokic for a little bit more salary. I like the spot a lot for Kyrie Irving once again. Kyrie without Kevin Durant, I think is going to be someone, we want to try and get into our lineups. Joel Embiid's also in a really good spot, but, Luka would come in right behind those guys, Jokic, Irving, and Embiid. Luka would be up there with those guys. So I do like Luka. Now, LeBron, on the other hand, LeBron's another guy you can basically play any slate, but I just don't know if this is going to be a slate where I go out of my way to play LeBron. I'd rather get up to Luka or drop down to Kyrie. LeBron is questionable. That'll be something to monitor. He's been questionable basically every game so far this year, and he's played in basically every game. So I'm expecting LeBron to play, but Anthony Davis is also questionable. We haven't had a scenario yet where both of these guys are questionable. I'm assuming AD plays as well, but if we do get a scenario where Anthony Davis is out, that would obviously make LeBron a much better option, but right now I'm just going to expect, I'm expecting both of those 2 guys to play. Now, Kyrie Irving, I do like a lot at 9,600. Kevin Durant remains out, so the usage, the opportunity is going to be there for Kyrie Irving. We saw last game against Utah. I mean, he could have had a way better game than he did. He didn't play at all in the third quarter. He only played 30 minutes due to a blowout. Still had a massive game, 51 DK points in 30 minutes. He was just taking a ton of shots. I mean, he was really aggressive. Obviously, without Kevin Durant, they're going to lean on Kyrie Irving even more. He's going to take probably 20 to 25 shots in this game. We know Kyrie is a guy that can contribute with rebounds. He can contribute with assists. He can get you steals as well. He can get some defensive stats. Like, he's just a guy that can, put up 50, 60 DK points any night. Without Kevin Durant, the usage is going to be there for Kyrie Irving. The ball is just going to be in his hands a ton. Obviously, the matchup against the Sixers is probably not the best overall, but again, when it comes to these guys like Kyrie Irving, like Luka Doncic, I don't really get too scared about matchup. I mean, these guys they're just such high usage players that no matter who's guarding them, whatever team they're going up against, the ball is going to be in their hand. They're going to be taking plenty of shots. So while Kevin Durant remains out, Kyrie Irving is going to be someone that, that I want to continue to pay up for, and his price didn't really rise that much. Only went up to 9,600. I think Kyrie still looks like one of the best pay up options on this slate, and I do like him on Yahoo as well. Price went up a little bit there, but still at $47. I think he looks like a very strong pay-up option at the top of the point guard position. But then other guys like, Damian Lillard, he's been really low owned basically every slate just because he hasn't, had really any massive games this year. His best game was against Golden State where he had 55 DK points, and, even then 55 DK points is not, smashing. Lillard's going to be low owned again. He definitely has upside, against Minnesota, a good matchup, a good game environment. This should be a fast-paced game. you could always play Damian Lillard in tournaments, but, if I'm talking about cash games, just straight up, I'd rather, get to Kyrie. Even in tournaments, I still think I'd rather play Kyrie over Lillard just because I think Kyrie has more upside. But, the upside's always there for Damian Lillard. But until we see it, I guess he's just going to be a guy that, I'm kind of off, at least for now. Now, other point guard options like Ben Simmons, CJ McCollum, I think are fine to go to, but neither one stand out to me as core plays, guys I expect to have a ton of exposure to. Now, D'Angelo Russell is someone I do want to talk about. So he is 7,700 on DraftKings. Did see his price rise a little bit after having a big game last time out against Denver. I said it in my video, and I've been saying it recently, we were going to see a big game from D'Angelo Russell at some point. He just gets so much usage without Karl-Anthony Towns. The ball's just going to be in his hands so much. Eventually, he's going to have one of those nights where he knocks down, 50, 60% of his shots. That was the case last game. Took 21 shots, shot 47% from the field, 44% from three, had 33 points, 3 rebounds, and 11 assists. So he did have a double-double, 59 DraftKings points. This is a guy that has 50-point upside when Towns is off the floor. And at 7,700, I like that the price came up because I think that's going to keep his ownership somewhat down. I still like D'Angelo Russell a lot. I like the matchup here against Portland as well. Portland, I don't think has been playing very fast so far this year, but they normally are a pretty fast-paced team. Like I said earlier, this game should be one of the faster-paced games on the slate. I believe right now it has the highest total. Yeah, this game has the highest total at 232.5. Next highest is Dallas-Denver at 225. So this game has the highest total on the slate by 7 points. Definitely going to be a game we want exposure to. If it stays close, you're going to get 36 to 38 minutes from D'Angelo Russell. The usage, the opportunity, it's going to be there with him starting at point guard, with Rubio coming off the bench. Russell's going to be the primary point guard, going to be the primary ball handler, and, like I said, usage will be there with Towns out. So I really like D'Angelo Russell once again. Definitely going to be a guy that I'm very overweight on this slate, and hopefully with his price coming up a little bit, maybe people will look to shy away from him. I do like him over on Yahoo as well. Price went up $1, but $30, that's still a very nice price tag for D'Angelo Russell on Yahoo. But now other point guards we could look to. So Jamal Murray just completely burned me last slate. I had some really good lineups on Yahoo that had Jamal Murray in them. It was just so tilting to see. It's so tilting when you have lineups that are I wouldn't say at the very top, but they're say it's a 3,000-man tournament, you got lineups in the top 40, top 50, and then you see you got Jamal Murray in there who's got 16 points. It was just so tilting. Some of my best lineups had Jamal Murray in them. If he could have even had, a 30-point game, I had a chance at some takedowns, especially on Yahoo, where most of those Jamal Murray lineups were. But I like going back to him. We know the opportunity, the usage is going to be there. Now, Michael Porter Jr. is expected back for this game, which I think does hurt Murray a little bit, but still, this is a guy that has a ton of upside. He's going to be low owned because, he's coming off a bad game. He burned everyone on the last slate. I think going back to Jamal Murray in tournaments does make some sense. Now, straight up, I think I'd rather play D'Angelo Russell, but Murray you could for sure go back to at 7,600. Colin Sexton I do like at 7,300. Just with no Darius Garland, who I believe is going to be out for this game. I think, Garland was out on Wednesday's game, and he's been ruled out for Wednesday's game. So we don't have a word yet on Darius Garland, but, assuming Garland remains out, I do like Colin Sexton at 7,300. I liked him a lot on Wednesday's slate. He didn't have the best game overall, but, the minutes were there, which was the main thing. The opportunity was there. He took 20 shots, so, the ball's going to be in his hands a ton. He's going to take a ton of shots. He's just going to have a ton of opportunity. Pretty good matchup here against Memphis, a much better spot than, facing Orlando in their last game. I do like Colin Sexton at 7,300. Him, Murray, Russell, all those guys I think do stand out, in the 7K range as viable plays. But scrolling down, Karis LeVert, without Kevin Durant, LeVert's going to see plenty of usage off the bench. He got off to a really slow start last game, but kicked it on in the second half. Finished with 36 DraftKings points in only 21 minutes. Obviously, he only played 21 minutes because of the blowout. If this game stays close, I think we'll likely get high 20s, maybe 30 minutes from LeVert off the bench. Usage should be there coming off the bench, and especially when Kyrie's on the bench and taking a rest. That's when you expect LeVert to be most productive. He's just going to be out there getting all the usage. Ball's going to be in his hands a ton. I do like Karis LeVert a good amount at 6,800. Now, is he a guy I'm going to have a ton of exposure to on the slate? I don't think so. If he was a little bit cheaper, I'd be a lot more interested. But still, I play multiple lineups. I usually play 10 to 20 lineups, so I will for sure have LeVert in my player pool. We'll definitely have exposure to him, but I don't expect to be as heavy on him as I was on the last slate. Now scrolling down, Tyus Jones is someone I want to talk about more so on Yahoo because he just still remains a little bit too cheap on Yahoo at $15. At this price point, I'm looking for about 25, close to 30 fantasy points, and Tyus Jones has been getting that the last 3 games. He's been playing solid minutes as well, 29, 31, 32 minutes. Like we know with John Morant out, Tyus Jones is going to start. He's going to play about 30 to 32 minutes. He can give you 25 to 30 fantasy points. He can average close to a fantasy point per minute. This is a guy that can score. He can get assists. He can get steals as well. He's a great steals guy. So at $15 in a good matchup against a bad Cavs team, a bad defensive team overall, I do like Tyus Jones on Yahoo. I'm more likely to play him there than I am on Draftkings. I think on Draftkings at $5,600, that price is a little bit high. I'd rather go to him over on Yahoo where he's a little bit more affordable. But really, I think that's it for point guard. I don't really see anyone else down here that that stands out under $5K for value. So let's go ahead and move on to the shooting guard position. So at shooting guard, a lot of guys here that we've already talked about, like Russell has shooting guard eligibility, who I like. Colin Sexton you can play at shooting guard. Do want to talk about Malik Beasley. I do like Malik Beasley a lot on both sides. He's 6,100 on DraftKings. And if you look over on Yahoo, you got Malik Beasley coming in at a very nice $20. I think $20 on Yahoo really stands out as just too cheap for Malik Beasley. So he's been playing a ton of minutes as well. He should also see a little bit of increased usage with Towns off the floor. 38 minutes last 2 games, 48 and 28 DraftKings points. Now Beasley, I don't know if this is definitely going to be a guy that's going to be inconsistent. I think he has a big ceiling, but sure he could bottom out, give you 25, 30 points any night. But I think the ceiling is definitely there. He has 40-plus point upside. The minutes are there as well. Like we know he's going to play big minutes as long as the game stays close. I do like Malik Beasley at 6,100. He's always been a guy that can be productive when he gets minutes. Now that he is with the Timberwolves, now that he is their starting shooting guard, like he's locked into big minutes on a nightly basis. So at 6,100 in a good matchup against Portland in a fast-paced game, I really just want to have as much exposure to this game as I can. So Malik Beasley does stand out at 6,100, and I have no problems playing him and Russell together. Both those guys can put up ceiling games. If you're playing Russell and Beasley together, you'll probably want to play someone on the Portland side, but there are guys on the Portland side I do like that we'll talk about. But yeah, other shooting guards that we can maybe look to, Beasley's definitely my favorite in that mid-range. Dennis Schroeder I'll mention just because if LeBron somehow sits or even Anthony Davis sits, like if one of those 2 guys winds up out, Schroeder should see increased usage, would become a much better play. But right now, I don't have too much interest in Schroeder. With MPJ back, I'm not really going to be looking to Will Barton. Seth Curry I think is actually viable at 5,500. He did have a really big game on Wednesday night against Washington, played 36 minutes and had 41 DraftKings points. Now, I don't know if we can expect over 40 DK points again from Seth Curry, but his minutes, they seem to be there. Most nights he's going to get over 30 minutes. He's starting for the Sixers this year. He's been a very consistent player so far. He's a guy that can score, has great scoring ability. He can get hot, can knock down shots. He has upside for sure. And against Brooklyn, I do like that matchup. So I think Seth Curry at 5,500 is a guy you can look to in that mid-range at shooting guard. On Yahoo, he's $18. So him and Beasley, I think, look really good at the shooting guard position. Obviously, you could pay up for McCollum or Sexton. I think Beasley, Curry, both those 2 guys do look pretty good at shooting guard. Now, other plays we could look to, like Joe Harris came off the bench last game. I'm not sure if that's going to happen again. I think if he does come off the bench, that really kills his fantasy value and upside. So I'll probably be off him today, assuming he does continue to come off the bench. Really, though, I don't see any value that I love at shooting guard. Like Jarrett Culver is going to start, but his minutes, just been all up in the air. Some nights he'll play 30 minutes, some nights he'll play low 20s. I probably won't be going to Jarrett Culver on the slate. Gary Trent saw his minutes increase that one game, and then last game he only played 19 minutes. If you want to take a shot on Gary Trent, you can, but probably not going to be a guy that I really look too much. I think that's honestly it for the shooting guard position, besides one guy. So there is one guy that I do want to talk about that I do like quite a bit. So Bruce Brown, he got the start last game for Brooklyn, and I'll be honest, I have no idea if that happens again. I don't know what the Nets were doing last game, but they started Kyrie, Bruce Brown, Taurean Prince, Jeff Green, and Jared Allen. They just completely changed up their starting lineup, and it worked out. They played really well. They won big against Utah, so I think it is possible that they do run that same starting lineup out, at least while Kevin Durant remains out. So at 3,500, if Bruce Brown starts again, I think he's a really good value on DK. He played 23 minutes, but he missed out on a lot of extra time because of the blowout. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. He was on pace to play about 30 minutes had the game stayed close. I think if this game is close today and Bruce Brown starts again, we probably get about 28 to 30 minutes from him. He's a guy that can be productive when he does get minutes. So at 3,500, assuming Bruce Brown starts again, I think he looks like a pretty solid value on DK. And if you want to play him on Yahoo, I think he's minimum salary over there. He's $10 minimum salary, so he can make for a fine shooting guard value as well. But I'm probably more likely to play him on DK, where that value is kind of necessary. On Yahoo, there's just so many underpriced guys on Yahoo that you don't really need to go all the way down to Bruce Brown. But let's go ahead and talk about small forward now. So at the top, LeBron we talked about. Ben Simmons, 8,900. Not a guy I'm going to have too much interest in on this slate. I think there's just other guys I'd rather pay up for. If Simmons, once his price starts coming down, I'll be more interested in him. But while he's like, 9K or close to it, I just never feel like I have to play Ben Simmons, especially while, both Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid are healthy. DeMar DeRozan, now that LaMarcus Aldridge is back, I don't really want to pay $7,900 for DeRozan. Tobias Harris is never really a guy that I feel like I have to play. I do like the matchup against Brooklyn, but, $7,500 for Tobias Harris, not a guy I feel like I have to go to. We talked about Karis LeVert. I do like him. You can play him at small forward. Keldon Johnson continues to play well. The price tag's way up there, though, at $6,500. At this price point, I'm looking for, close to 40 DraftKings points, if not more than that. Lately, he hasn't really been getting that. I think with LaMarcus Aldridge coming back as well, that does hurt Keldon Johnson a little bit. So if he was cheaper, I would have more interest. But at $6,500, that's a really expensive price tag for Keldon Johnson. I just rather would get up to Karis LeVert if I'm going to pay that much for a small forward. Scrolling down, though, I think Cedi Osman is viable at $5,700. He did start on Wednesday, and I think he probably starts again, especially if Darius Garland remains out. He didn't have the best game overall, 25 DK points in 33 minutes, but he shot terribly from the field, shot 0.83% from, or less than 10% from the field, 0 for 7 from 3. Like, if he just even makes a few of those shots, he's going to put up 30, 35 DK points. You could have got a much better game from Osman if he shot better, but good matchup here against Memphis, $5,700. Pretty hefty price tag for Cedi Osman, not a guy that I want to pay nearly $6K for, but there aren't really any small forward plays that stand out right now, so I think Osman is fine at $5,700. I mean, this position's just kind of gross overall. There's really not much value either. I do want to talk about Taurean Prince. If he starts again, I think he is viable at $3,500. He was another guy that missed out on, extra playing time. He did not play at all in the fourth quarter. At the end of the third quarter, he had played 20 minutes, so he was on pace to play about 26, 27 minutes had the game stayed close. I don't know what Prince's production is going to look like. I don't expect this to be a guy that's too productive when he's in the starting lineup, but if he does start, I think he'll likely get mid to high 20s in minutes, and at $3,500, he at least has a chance to kind of pay off this price tag. Now, I would rather get to Bruce Brown over him, but if Prince starts and you're looking for value at small forward, he could be a guy you look to as a punt option at $3,500. Like Horton Tucker could be viable depending on what happens with LeBron and AD, but for now, like I said, I'm just going to assume that both of those guys play. So I really think that's it for small forward. I mean, there's not much that stands out here, so let's go ahead and move on to the power forward position. So at power forward, at the top here, you got AD, who we talked about earlier, is questionable for this game. I think even if AD plays, I really don't have too much interest in him at $9,800. Just would rather play Kyrie, Jokic, just all these other guys I've already talked about. Obviously, if LeBron winds up out, if we get a scenario where LeBron's out and then AD plays, that would totally change things and make AD a much better option. But I'm assuming both those guys play. Other power forwards, though, going down to the mid-range, like Larry Nance, I like with Kevin Love out, but he's $7K. Like, that is a hefty price tag for Larry Nance. He hasn't been playing that well lately either. Tough to trust right now. The minutes are still there, but the production can be up and down for a guy like Larry Nance. I think it's $7K. That's just too much for me. I'd rather just spin down a little bit more of this position. I'd rather play probably Cedi Osman for $5,700 rather than Larry Nance for $7K. Brandon Clark at $5,300, I do have interest in. I think he looks like one of the better power forwards. He's going to start, play about 28 to 30 minutes. His production is going to be up and down as well, but the minutes should be there. Good matchup against the Cavs. Price tag still pretty reasonable at $5,300. I think given just the lack of options at power forward, Brandon Clark does stand out at $5,300 as a guy you could look to. At the same price point, I think Robert Covington at $5,300 looks pretty good as well. Minutes should be there most nights. You should probably get 34, 36 minutes from Covington most nights. Did play 37 last game, was pretty productive with 29 DK points in those 37 minutes. In a fast-paced game like this against Minnesota, revenge game if you want to factor that in, Covington does have some upside for sure. Never a guy that I love to play just because, at least so far this year with the Blazers, he hasn't shown much upside, but he still can knock down threes. He can get defensive stats. He can rebound. He definitely has a path to score, over 30 DK points. And at 5,300, I will for sure take that all day. So do like Covington as well at 5,300. Kuzma, depending on what happens with AD LeBron, if one of those two guys winds up out, then for sure I would like Kyle Kuzma, but I'm just going to assume that both those guys play. Under 5K, though, looking for cheap power forward. So Juancho Hernan-Gomez, I guess we need to talk about, had a massive game last game, 46 DraftKings points in 34 minutes, got insanely hot from the field, shot 71% from the field, 62% from three. Obviously, we cannot expect that to happen again, but if they're going to continue to start Juancho and play him, 30 minutes, which they, last two games he started, played 26, 34 minutes, like if we're going to get close to 30 minutes from Juancho, at 4,400, I don't mind him as a cheap power forward. I think he's probably going to be over-owned on this slate because, he's coming off such a big game. People are going to be chasing that. I would have some Pauls there, but, we need value, and Hernan-Gomez is pretty cheap. He should play pretty solid minutes. It does make some sense at 4,400. Carmelo as well, coming off the bench, probably going to play about mid-20s minutes, 4,300. Another cheap option that, is fine to go to. Jeff Green did start last game. He's still cheap at 3,500. He didn't do really anything at all in the starting lineup. Played 19 minutes, had 8 DraftKings points. If he starts again, though, he's viable at 3,500. But, not a guy that I'm obviously that confident in. Honestly, I'd rather play Taurean Prince over Jeff Green if I had to choose, just one of those two guys. But, yeah, that's it for power forward. Let's go ahead and hit on the center position real quick before we do end the video. So, at the top of the center position, you got Jokic coming in at 10,900 on DK. Jokic, clearly one of the top pay-up options on the slate, in my opinion. I think he's right up there with Kyrie Irving as, my favorite spend-ups. Jokic has just been so good this season, been so productive. Every game, he's got at least 50 DraftKings or 49 DraftKings points in every game, has multiple games over 70 DK points. Like, the dude just has massive upside, has massive triple-double upside, can put up, 30, 10, and 10 basically any night. I'm not really, worried about anyone on Dallas slowing down Jokic. They really don't have any good defenders. I think Jokic, really good option overall, really good pay-up option overall. Looks like a very strong play at 10,900. I don't need to tell you that, but if some value opens up and it's easier to pay up for Jokic, I'll for sure be trying to get him in. But right now it's kind of tough because we don't have a ton of great value that stands out. Maybe that'll change throughout the day. Like if LeBron or AD wound up out, we could definitely get some value from the Lakers. Right now, though, if I can only choose one pay-up option, I think I'd take the savings and play Kyrie over Jokic. But I do like both guys a lot. Joel Embiid, though, also in a great spot against Brooklyn. Brooklyn just been a team that's always struggled to defend bigs. Jared Allen, great offensive player, but not too good on the defensive end. Definitely should struggle defensively against a guy like Joel Embiid. I think we could see another massive game from Joel Embiid. I liked him a lot on Wednesday's slate against the Wizards, and he had a huge game, 66 DK points in 37 minutes. I would not be surprised at all if we get another 60-point game from Embiid here. At 9,500, like he's right up there with Kyrie, right up there with Jokic is like my favorite spend-ups on the slate. I think taking the savings, honestly, and playing him over Jokic does make a lot of sense because, Embiid could easily outscore Jokic. He has that kind of upside in him, and it is a great matchup against the Nets. I do like Jokic a ton as well. If I can, I would definitely rather pay up for Jokic, or Embiid, pay up for Embiid over a guy like Drummond, some of these other guys. It's definitely Embiid and Jokic up at the top for me. Even if AD plays, I'd still prefer those guys over AD. Now, scrolling down and looking in this mid-range, so we do need to talk about Jared Allen. He did start last game. He had a massive game. He played 32 minutes, didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, but I think a lot of his minutes had to do with the fact that DeAndre Jordan got into early foul trouble. DeAndre Jordan picked up 4 fouls in 4 minutes, so Jared Allen basically had to play like the entire game until the fourth quarter when they pulled the starters and put the scrubs in. I don't think we're going to, we'll probably get 32 minutes, but I just don't think we're going to get 32 minutes from Allen in 3 quarters. He'll likely play 32, 34 minutes again if he does start. I assume since he played so well that he is clearly the Nets, starting center moving forward. I don't know if we can expect 54 DraftKings points again from Jared Allen, especially not here against, Embiid in a tougher matchup, but the guy's productive when he gets minutes. If they're going to play him 30 minutes a night at 6,400, he still has upside on this price point, so assuming Jared Allen does stick in the starting lineup, I do have interest in him. in the 6K range. But Nurkic, I think, is probably my favorite center overall in that range. I think Jared Allen's going to get a lot of ownership today because he played so well. But Nurkic, man, I'm still really high on Nurkic. I played him a ton last slate, and he had a solid game. Could have done better, but got into some early foul trouble. Was limited a little bit because of that. Still, though, he remains underpriced, in my opinion, on both sides. 6,200 on DK. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, you got Nurkic coming in at $25 over there, which I think is just way too cheap of a price tag. So like I said, Nurkic got into some foul trouble. I think he had 3 fouls pretty quick, I believe, and kind of had his minutes limited because of that. He still did play 28 minutes, was productive in that time with 37 DK points. Gets a good matchup here against Minnesota. It's going to be some combination of like Ed Davis and Naz Reid trying to defend Nurkic, and both those guys are not going to slow down Nurkic. Both those guys are pretty bad defenders, especially Naz Reid. So it is a great spot once again for Nurkic. The price tag came down after he had a really good game with 37 DK points. Like, I'm just going to keep playing Nurkic until they raise his price. He's eventually going to put, like D'Angelo Russell, he's eventually going to post one of those massive 40, 50-point games. We know Nurkic is a guy that has that kind of upside. Definitely has, potential to triple-double as well. I mean, he was four assists shy of a triple-double last game. Like, he's got 40, 50-point upside. At 6,200, that's just too cheap in my opinion. So I like Yusuf Nurkic a ton in the mid-range. I think he's a very strong play in that 6K range. Him and Jared Allen both look really good. I think if Jared Allen's going to be way more popular, then I would just rather play Nurkic for lower ownership. Nurkic has been really low-owned these last few slates, and even though he's coming off a solid game, I think he still might be low-owned on this slate, which obviously makes him a very appealing play. But if we're talking about value plays at center, so I do want to touch on Willie Cauley-Stein. He actually started last game over Dwight Powell, and he got solid minutes. He played 24 minutes, had 30 Draftkings points. Obviously, this is a tough matchup against Jokic, and there's definitely, kind of some foul trouble concerns here. Willie Cauley-Stein is a guy that can struggle with fouls and stuff, but he is a very productive player when he gets minutes, and I think if he does start again, he's likely to get probably mid-20s in minutes, can easily give you 30 Draftkings points in, 24, 25 minutes. Very productive player, so if Willie Cauley-Stein does start at 3,700, I think he actually looks like a pretty good value play overall on the slate. Once we got the news that he was starting on the last slate, I swapped to him in a lot of lineups. He was cheap. He was so cheap across both sides. He's obviously his price came up a little bit here, but still that's too cheap for Willie Cauley-Stein if he is going to be starting and playing mid to high 20s in minutes. So I do like him a lot as a value play. Just got to keep an eye on that Mavericks starting lineup. Ed Davis has been starting recently, but the minutes have just been so up in the air. He's really hard to trust. I would much rather prefer Cauley-Stein, assuming that Cauley-Stein does start. But yeah, I think that's it for center, guys. I think we broke everything down at the center position. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do enjoy my videos, if they help you out a lot, you want to get more content from me, you want to see more that I do have to offer, check out the Patreon link down below. I do have a lot of additional content over on Patreon. As always, I'd appreciate, if you check that out, just, see what I have to offer. You can get access to my core plays, my player pool, my rankings, my position-by-position breakdown. All that is posted over on Patreon. So check that out if you're interested. Best of luck tonight, guys. Thanks so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck, guys. Peace.